Let's say your focus this week is generating leads. If you do accomplish it, you're going to feel great versus you're setting up a goal of making $1 million. This week, no, it didn't happen again. Next week, didn't happen again. Next week, didn't happen again, because you're looking at this ginormous goal pie in the sky that you haven't even really thought out well. So I guarantee you that 4 weeks into it, you're going to lose motivation because it feels like nothing is happening. Many people set up goals that are not attainable because they borrow somebody else's goal. Let's say Becca wants to be a millionaire in the next 15 months. It's great for Becca because maybe she paid the price already and she knows she's getting there, right? If you're sitting at 0 and you're like, I want to be like Becca, I'm going to reach like 1.5 million in 18 months. Guess what? Most likely you won't, because you don't even know what you're talking about at this point. Can you get there? I'm sure you're very capable of doing it. But if you start with a goal of this high, that's above the clouds, and you cannot even see it,
you're going to get tired.
Guess what? You get tired
there.
because you give up even before you start. Because then new show on Netflix looks a lot more attractive. Then you go tackling something that you haven't tackled for generations.
There's going to be a lot of shows dropped.
A lot, yeah.
Oz, in the event that I'm really busy, what do I need to do to make more money?
Yeah, that's a great question because most people are busy, right? So as a coach or a lot of people just hear from gurus, oh, you're just lazy, just work more. You're just a couch potato. If you wanted to make time, you make the time. You can figure this out. Although it might be true for certain people, a lot of people that I know, they already work really hard. And especially after like age 30 or so, you got married and you have kids, life gets more complicated. And people still want to make more money. It's not always because they're freaking lazy. One exercise that we do with some of our members is the 100 units of time. What I do, I give them a spreadsheet pretty much and ask them to write down what they do in every 30-minute increments. So let's say you have a job. Obviously, you don't need to write down what you're doing every 30 minutes because that is a huge block that we're kind of discounting. So you take that out. Let's say you need to be at your job at 9 a.m. and there's a commute. So from 8 to 9, you're preparing for that, you're driving, you're getting there, and you leave your job at 5. By the time you get home, it's like 6 p.m., right? So your 8 to 6 p.m. is blocked. I don't care about that time period because there might not be much we can do there unless you have a flexible, lenient job that you can do work here and there. But whatever, for the sake of the example, we just get rid of that, okay? Then you have a couple of options left. Either you wake up at 6 a.m. in the morning, so you give yourself 2 hours so you can work on generating additional income, or you have to steal from the nighttime, right? So by the time you get home at 6 p.m., you're going to probably take a shower and have dinner and hopefully spend some time with your family. So we're pushing into like 8:30. You put the kids to bed. It's 9 o'clock. What are you going to do? You're already tired physically and mentally, most likely because of your responsibilities. So before you get super sleepy and tired, you probably have a window of 2-3 hours. And as most people, you want to do something fun. You want to watch something on Netflix and you want to watch a game or something like that, right? Here's what the problem is. So unlike traditional gurus, I'm not going to say just work harder and just put more time. It's a serious problem. People are stuck in this loop, right? It's like hamster wheel. Okay, I got to wake up the next day, Saturday, Sunday, sometimes packed. I guess the solution is you'll have to figure out a way to sacrifice. If you're in that loop right now and you genuinely say to yourself, hey man, I really want to make more money, right? But I'm in this situation. I hear this all the time, right? And again, sometimes it's BS. Most of the time it's not. They really need to carve something out of their schedule to spare time for this. The question is not a matter of whether they can do it or not. Everyone can do it. The question is, do they have a burning desire to make that happen? Because if you're not motivated, if you don't have a why to do that, let's be honest, it's a lot more fun to spend time on Netflix or on your phone than starting a new business. You know, I'll be the first one to admit it. It's the hard work, right? So you're expected to do things that you're not used to, and someone is asking you to make some kind of sacrifice. No one likes that. You would only make that if you believe the end goal is worth it. If you need to increase your income by another 10-15%, maybe you don't really need to start a business. You can go ask for a raise from your boss, and if your boss doesn't give you that, go get another job that can pay you more. Or go acquire another skill that market values it more so you can get a promotion maybe. And if you're making 40-50K right now, you can make 80K. That solves the problem because not every solution is about starting a business. But since we're talking to an entrepreneurial community, I support that because that's what I've done, right? I had a job that paid me $250,000 and I quit it and started my own business. This is an insane idea when you think about it because I didn't really have the money problem at that point in my life. I had it throughout all of my 20s, but at that point I didn't really need it, but that's when I quit because it took me that long to build that burning desire in my like gut to tell me I'm made for something more than that. Now, I'm not just a money-making machine, but there's a lot more that I can serve and contribute and help people, and I enjoy talking about it.
I think in addition to that, you built up your confidence in yourself.
True.
So you were working, and you had to go through many different challenges, many different bosses, many different colleagues at the time. And challenge after challenge, you're kind of building your confidence to where you're like, why am I still here dealing with these situations, dealing with these people when I know my capabilities? It's almost like you prove it to yourself after a certain point, and then you're sitting there twiddling your thumbs, and it's like that drawing line, like that one day pushes you a little too far, and that's all you need to get yourself in that state.
Great observation. That's actually very true, right? Because I always wanted to do my own thing, but I didn't have the courage or the skill set or the life experience to do that, right?
Yeah.
So many people in our community, they've done many things in their lives. Like I'm reading the bios of people when they join our master class, right? I'm like, wow, these people have done a lot of things in their lifetime.
Yeah,
but
so
the
many
question is,
accomplishments.
so many accomplishments. Then the question is, how are they going to make more money when they're in that loop, right? So it goes back to the question again, talking to yourself and find out what's your burning desire. What are you trying to accomplish? It might always be the money, right? We think it's always the money. It's not. Maybe they don't have a healthy relationship in the workplace and they want to get rid of it. And then maybe it makes them
changes their drive and their desire.
Yeah. And it hurts their self-respect. And because they told themselves they're meant for something bigger than their current role, good or bad, it's not a good fit for them. Once you understand what that driving force is, it's a lot easier to carve out that time that you need to put in to grow a business.
I also want to highlight, it might not always be a bad thing that has to change. Sometimes you might get too comfortable. Sometimes you've been working with the same colleagues. Everyone's been in the same position for years.
Yeah.
And someone would be so morally offended if you were to go and challenge them in their position or to reach for more, to shoot for more. So it could be that situation too.
I wouldn't have thought of that. That's very true because people get complacent over time, right? And I think that's a very bad disease.
Yes.
I think it's because it's so subtle. I respect someone who starts something when they're comfortable more than someone who just got fired and they're just at the end of their paycheck and they need to do something. Both are good examples. But if someone is comfortable and it bugs the crap out of them to move out of the situation that they're in right now, it's just comfortable. It's not okay. And they kind of settle and say, Becca, yeah, we want to do great things, friend, but we're not doing that bad either. You know, that's very poisonous. That's dangerous.
Because it's easy to complain, but it's hard to do anything about the situation you're complaining about. So you either take the easy route or you take the hard route and you actually do something about what you're complaining about.
And there's also fear of unknown. When you're starting something, you don't know how much is expected from you and you don't know how much it's going to hurt. It's like jumping off of a cliff. You look at the water, you say, well, physically speaking, I should be okay if I can do a good dive, but how much is it going to hurt?
Right. Yeah.
That's the thing. I'm not jumping onto a sharp rock. There's water. I don't know how deep the water is. If I jump and it goes well, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I'm going to add it to my bucket list. And it might just change the way I look at things because I, beat that fear out of my system. It's just the fear of unknown. That's why if you're the person that we're talking to right now and you really mean well and you're kind of stuck, you have to get unstuck by going back to why you want to do this. Then be crystal clear on what are you trying to accomplish? You hate your job? Go freaking change your job. Don't tell yourself that you're cut out for entrepreneurship. Not everyone is, but I believe that everyone can be based on their skill set, right? That's an age-old question. Can everyone become a business owner? They can at the level that they want to accomplish. In our community, we have entrepreneurs and business owners who are generating $2,000 a month, and it's a major accomplishment for them because they've never had that, and they're transforming into that, and that fits the bill for them. That satisfies what they're trying to accomplish because every month they were short $500. Now they're making $2,000 more. They're living a comfortable life. You don't have to hate on your job, right? That's okay. And on the other end, we have people who come in guns blazing, and in like 3 months from now, they get to like 30, 40K per month, right? So that person is a different level. That doesn't mean good or bad, but you need to know what your burning desire is because personally, I get major satisfaction from progress.
Right.
That's what drives me. Like if I'm sitting here and if everything is good, I can't be like, that's good. Like, let's just sit here and stay. I'm just going to do something. Sometimes it messes it up, but that's my passion. I want progress. That's my burning desire. To me, it's more important than the money, but as a company, if you keep progressing towards an area, you make more money automatically. That's like a side effect, right? When I started out, I didn't care about progress. I was in a survival mode. I was trying to have a better future for my kids and future kids and all that stuff, right? Who cared about progress? I didn't even know what that meant. Like at the end of the month, we were having less money. I was in the negative. I was dealing with overdrafts and all that stuff. To me, I didn't care about the world peace and what I did. I just wanted to make some more money, and I was just trying to figure out what that looks like. So that's why you need to understand where you are. What's the immediate problem you want to solve right now? You want to get your bank account to positive? You want to pay off some debt? That's your primary goal. And match that to the goal and the effort that you're putting in. If you need to generate $20,000, $25,000 in the next 6 months, make the time for it, because now you know. Many people set up goals that are not attainable because they borrow somebody else's goal. Let's say Becca wants to be a millionaire in the next 15 months. It's great for Becca because maybe she paid the price already and she knows she's getting there, right? If you're sitting at zero and you're like, I want to be like Becca, I'm going to reach like 1.5 million in 18 months. Guess what? Most likely you won't, because you don't even know what you're talking about at this point. It's kind of too early. Can you get there? I'm sure you're very capable of doing it, but for you, it might take 3 years. That's okay. But if you start with a goal of this high, that's above the clouds, and you cannot even see it,
you're going to get tired.
Guess what?
You
get tired
there.
Because you give up even before you start. Because then new show on Netflix looks a lot more attractive. Then you go tackling something that you haven't tackled for generations.
There's going to be a lot of shows dropped.
Yeah. So you're not going to get there, right? So it starts from within and grows without. If you just started doing something, or if you're planning to start a business and grow that business, know where you are. Like, what's my burning desire? I call it why. What's your why? Why are you doing this? And it has two splits to it. One is the monetary goal, because we're talking about business. The other one is the personal. Like at the end of the day, we have many people in our community that just want to give back. They're just so grateful to their church and their friends and family and all that stuff. They want to be able to give back. They're not talking about giving back $10 million. They want to spend more time with their family. Like, that's my priority right now at this stage in my life. I want to be able to spend more time with my kids because they're growing so fast, right? To me, that's more important than money. Maybe that's what it is. So you have to match both of them. On the personal accomplishment side, what is it that's making you cringe right now and making you upset? Is it because you're getting home at 9 p.m. and your kids are already fell asleep and you're not going to see them when you wake up at 6 a.m. in the morning while they're still sleeping? That's your cycle, and you see them like twice a week. That's pretty darn bad.
Shift
right?
your priorities.
That should be priority. Well, how do you make it the priority when you're the breadwinner and you have to pay the bills? So they have roof over their head, right? So there's a lot of conflict there, and someone needs to sacrifice, and it's not the kids, it's you. Just now you identified why you need to sacrifice, not because you want to be like Becca. That's the main distinction that will help you make money no matter what situation you're going through, because you have a lot more clarity right now.
Yeah, and you're thinking on things a little differently. So when you're choosing your priorities a little more smart, that 30 minutes you might have taken after work to kind of take your time, go home, unwind. Like, now you're using that 30 minutes and you're making value out of it.
Right.
That 30 minutes is 30 minutes you could have just hopped on your first call or sealed your first deal.
Run the first campaign and started. It almost gets you up to a point that you get no joy from the things that you used to do because you thought you had all the time, right? So it gets to a point that you cannot enjoy that show anymore because you ask yourself, what am I doing? I could have been doing this now, right? You want to get to that point of almost obsession. That's how you create free time. You're not going to do it through a spreadsheet. You're not going to do it through like a reminder apps on your phone because you haven't identified that burning desire. When you have that burning desire in your heart, in your stomach, wherever it is, right? You cannot not do that. That's going to be your thing because you can see the light at the end of the tunnel and you tell yourself, I am close. Like if I just close one deal, that's going to add $2,000 to my income, $4,000. And you repeat that. And there's repeat income aspect of this business and whatever business you're doing, right? But this is the best business that I know that you can do it with the limited time that you have. Because, for example, if you have a job, you can't go start a restaurant part-time. Like certain businesses, no matter how motivated you are, how much of a burning desire that you have, it just will not work. You can burn yourself out. You lose your job, your performance drops, then your restaurant failed too. You lost your job too. You lost your income altogether. You're in a pretty bad shape, right? So I'm assuming that we're matching this plan to a business model that supports growth, even if you're putting in a few hours a day. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. And when you're putting in towards growth, you're seeing more benefit. So when you're actually getting the worth out of the time in your day, I feel like time is a lot more valuable. So you're able to make more out of an hour.
Yeah,
so
very true.
An hour feels a lot different
Yeah.
before, when you weren't as clear about what your motivations and your goals and what it is exactly what you want to accomplish in that day, that week, that month. When you're clear about what you want, that time value, you get a lot more out of it.
Totally, because the goals are attainable right now. Like, let's do a little comparison, right? Let's say your goal, you join Business Landing Blueprint, right? The goal within the first month is to fund your first deal. Then you chunk it up to further milestones. Let's say your focus this week is generating leads. If you do accomplish it, you're going to feel great, versus you're setting up a goal of making $1 million. This week, no, it didn't happen again. Next week, didn't happen again. Next week, didn't happen again, because you're looking at this ginormous goal pie in the sky that you haven't even really thought out well, and you took somebody's goal because that looks sexy, that sounds sexy, and you just want to use that, right? So I guarantee you that 4 weeks into it, you're going to lose motivation because it feels like nothing is happening. But if you chunk it down, oh, I got my first appointment today, second appointment today, it's going to get that going, because you're going to see also almost instant gratification. Well, there's no such a thing in business, in life actually, but if you get it pretty close to giving yourself instant gratification, like chunking up your goals. Today, I'm connecting with 20 people on LinkedIn. Have I done that? Good.
Oh, yeah.
If you do that every day, at the end of 30 days, that's 600 people. Do you not think you're going to find 1 or 2 people who want funding from you?
Attainable goals.
Very attainable,
yes.
right. And on your first month, you made your $2,000. Now, you sold the whole business to yourself and telling yourself, I made money with something that I didn't know existed 30 days ago. Now that 60 days into it, it's reasonable for you to tell yourself, I'm going to make 5 times more. I'm going to make 10,000, because I know how now. I just need to have 4 more people get the funding from me. I'm going to learn from my mistakes. 90 days. Well, I just hit 10,000. Let's say I couldn't hit my goal. I finished with 6,000. But look back, 60 days ago, I didn't know anything about this business. 60 days in, I just made $6,000 on my second month, $2,000 on my first month. That's $8,000. This reminds me of the testimonial that I've done with Kenton, who's still a friend. We did a follow-up with him after a year and a half, right?
Nice.
He attended one of my events, and I asked him to break down like how much he made. This was like the moment that he kind of walked me through his first 4 months. It was like, first month I made like $1,500. Second month, $4,000. Third month, $6,000. Fifth month, $24,000. You see the hockey stick? Like, now he's totally sold, and he has the skill set he's developed, he's given himself. Right now he's averaging 35 to 40K per month, no employees, living with his girlfriend, working like 4 hours a day, right? But that guy knew the name of the game. He didn't start out saying that I'm going to go from my corporate job where I make 4K to 30K in 30 days. You're not there, buddy.
Like, being patient with themselves.
Yeah, you have to give yourself those little wins. And if you want to win the war, you have to start winning the battles. And some of the battles you're going to lose, but you might still win the war, right? So it just makes sense sometimes to lose a battle to win the war. So you have to define that properly.
Absolutely. And I do think one of the most commendable things is whenever you do talk about coaches, or any time I see them say their videos online or anything like that, I do notice that one of the most commendable features about them is their patience. The fact that they were so patient in what it is that they intended on. So they figured out what it is they wanted, they secured their thoughts, their intentions, everything, and then they just made it grow. They were super patient in the process and just took the time.
And that time could be 90 days. Like, people are so impatient, right? People want things done in the first week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
It's dangerous to be impatient.
It's very dangerous, and it doesn't benefit you. There is no way that you're going to put in what needs to be put in a week's worth of time. But you'll be surprised even if you're putting 2 hours a day, at the end of 365 days, you put in more than 700 hours. That's insane. You do that on anything, you're one of the experts in the world in that topic. That 700-800 hours is massive. But you put in that hour without noticing into your job. It's not like we're asking something that's extraordinary, right? So if let's say you hate on your job, you want to become a business owner, which is okay, but you've been putting in 40, 50 hours a week for the past, 20 years? How many hours is that? I did a very simple calculation with someone who's been in the workforce for the past 20 years. I said, okay, how much were you making 20 years ago? I was making $25,000 a month. Okay. How much are you making right now? 55,000. Wow. Okay. That's like 2.5 times. And it took you 25 years just to double your income, slightly double. And we're not even talking about inflation. So if I put that in the equation, you're probably making just a little over what you were making before. So you given that opportunity 20 something years and it brought you here. And all we're asking you to do is follow a system for the next 90 days to 120 days. And you're telling me that's too long.
Time is valuable. Time is something that you can't put a price tag on. If you're willing to invest in yourself, I think it's one of those things where you cannot decipher how much you are willing to invest yourself, whether it's money, whether that's a measurable, say, goal, anything. You can't draw a line on where you're willing to invest in yourself, because at some point you're not willing to invest in yourself then.
Or you can't.
Yeah, that is true.
Or you can't. It's too late, you know.
I think when it comes to investing in yourself, it's really important when you're able to see it through. So whatever it is that you know you want, you're capable of following it through. Just super important.